to Monday. Can you believe Monday already? There must be some law that was broken for us to get to Monday so quickly. This is Mornings with Ken Rosato. It is Monday, March 30th, 2026, and we'll take your calls at 888-658-0234 to kick things off. Meteorologist Mike Favetta with the forecast near you.
This weather is brought to you by Audio Nova, your hearing experts, serving all of New Jersey with 13 locations.
Mike, apparently these younger female viewers are obsessed with that TV miniseries Love Story, John F. Kennedy Jr. and Carolyn Bessette, which, by the way, is not even the real story. They admit it's fictionalized. Like, instead of Kennedy being a carousing, drug-addicted, like, beater of his soon-to-be ex-wife, it's a love story of these two young, beautiful people in New York who everybody loved. Takes place in the 90s. And now the internet is blowing up with celebs posting their pictures from the 90s. So, Mike, I called your wife and I rated your picture case. And here's what we found.
Uh-oh.
It's just freeze in place until Pam pulls it up.
Is it that bad? I'm that ugly? I broke the system?
Not at all. You're not ugly at all. It's adorable. Okay, 3, 2. There we go. Oh, that's me. So this was.
Wow, I look great, Ken.
This was that, and there's Mikey. Mike, look how cute you were. Look at you. That's so cute with your tie. You had a perfect tie on back then. You were made to be on TV.
Oh, that was a clip-on. Are you kidding? Couldn't tie.
But it was perfect. Perfect. So you can usually tell a clip on. That looks good. That's fantastic. So this picture here was from CBS 4 in Miami. I got there in 1998 and I was there till 2002. So that would have been 98. The makeup artist put so much makeup on my face, you could have carved your initials in my cheek. And she insisted on putting lip gloss on. I'm like, I don't wear I never wear. Why would I? Why?
Goodness.
Why? It's like, oh, we have to make your lips shine. So I look like the most staged, phony wax dummy, but that was what they did in those days. Unbelievable. But I love your picture. Was that a school pic?
Yeah, it was a school picture.
Did you go to Catholic school?
I want to say second grade. St. Virgil's in Mars Plains.
St. Virgil's, San Virgilio. Very nice. Well,
it was a very Irish community. We didn't know who Columbus was. We didn't know Columbus was, sailed for was Italian until like high school. It was all about St. Patrick's Day. I mean, we had the green milk, the green cupcakes. Even our Italian principal wore green up and down the hallways. And I'm like, okay, it was just very, very Irish community, but loved it anyway.
He knew where the bread was buttered. That's all that mattered. Anyway, so I digress. Go ahead, sir. I'm so sorry to
No, it's okay. I have to check out this series. It sounds incredible. I'll look more into that. Looking for something new to watch. Yes. We got a nice little leave coming up, so I think we'll find something to do there. The weather, however, looks great to get outside. Yes, it was a little chilly over the weekend, but the warm weather is back today in a big way. We start off nice and dry, sunny, in fact, a few clouds around throughout this afternoon. But look at this big heat dome that stretches all the way to the east. It's another round of this coast-to-coast heat that takes over that will give us record highs in the Midwest and temperatures exceeding 15 degrees above average just off to our west. That's today. Tomorrow, that extreme heat spreads east, might even come close to set some records. So spring will finally be here in New Jersey across the East Coast over the coming days. Yes, it takes a little bit of time, and we've had our patience. Certainly, we've earned it going through the last few days. So a couple of extra clouds today, and maybe later tonight a few sprinkles off to our north, but that's good because that's the warm front pushing in that warm air into the day tomorrow, allowing for loads of clear sky and sunshine. By Wednesday, it's gonna get hot. High temperatures could approach 80 across most of New Jersey. Well, it's like a one-day sale because it ends by Thursday. We're right back to the chilly, cloudy, cool weather that takes over by Thursday into Friday, and then we're right back down in the freezer by Friday morning. We'll give you that part of the forecast, Ken, coming up in just a few minutes. Crazy March continues right into the first few days of April.
Indeed, it does. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it. In the meantime, it's 47 degrees northern New Jersey, 45 degrees in Trenton. On the West Coast, it is 58 degrees in Los Angeles, 59 degrees San Diego. And in terms of traffic, we have a crash with property damage on the New Jersey Turnpike inner roadway southbound by the exit ramps of Interchange 8 by Route 33 East Windsor Township. All lanes are blocked. You could see our wonderful director, Pam, found that camera. And so we have that. We also have parking related issues at JFK. So if you're headed out there, make sure you have a reserved parking space. This is, again, one of those weeks where a lot of people go on vacation. Remember, colleges have roving spring breaks, so it varies from college to college. So this must be one of those busy weeks where a lot of colleges are off. So you have a lot of the parking lots at all of the airports jammed. Make sure you make a reservation online before you drive to an airport, or else you're going to get screwed. You're not going to be able to park your car anyplace. In terms of the Hudson River crossings right now, Lincoln and Holland both reporting 25 minutes in. That's not so bad. GWB upper and lower levels, let's take a peek. And that is actually moving not so bad. It looks like it's slow, but it's actually moving pretty well. They're only saying 25 to 30 minutes in at this hour. In Los Angeles, we have a traffic collision in Santa Fe Springs on the 60 at Crossroads Parkway. There's a fire reported on the 405 and the 105 in West LA, and a collision now reported in Antelope Valley on the 14 at West Palmdale Boulevard off-ramp. There was a security scare at Palm Beach Airport yesterday because Air Force One was parked there. The Air Force had to scramble fighter jets. The president was not on the plane at the time, but he was slated to board just a few hours later to fly back to D.C. Authorities ordered a temporary ground stop at the airport. Seems it was either a drone or smaller civilian aircraft that had no radio contact. The craft was safely escorted out of the restricted airspace and the ground stop was lifted. It is 6 minutes past the hour. Former New Jersey Assemblyman Albert Coutinho, who left office when he was caught embezzling funds from his family's charity but continued to be a key player in the local Portuguese community, died in a car crash yesterday. The 56-year-old collided with a second car on McCarter Highway in Newark. It happened about 7:30 in the morning. Coutinho survived the crash, but then died of a heart attack on the scene. The Democrat was a beloved figure in the Garden State's huge Portuguese community and one of the Newark Portugal Day Festival's key organizers. He served just over 5 years in the New Jersey State Assembly, but withdrew his bid for re-election in 2013 when authorities found that he had bilked some $32,500 from the Bernardino Coutinho Foundation, named after his father. The Coutinho family's charity has organized the city's Portugal Day Festival since it began in 1980. Good news for TSA officers. Starting today, they are supposed to receive their paychecks following a 44-day funding lapse. President Trump signed an executive order Friday mandating the use of Nexus funds to pay the officers, and the new head of Homeland Security, Mark Wayne Mullen, made sure the money was drawn from existing funds. Airline passengers have been experiencing some of the highest security wait times in the 25-year history of the TSA, with some taking more than 4.5 hours to make it through checkpoints, while Democrat lawmakers who are holding up the passage of the budget that would pay these workers continue bypassing security checkpoints on their own so they could fly home first class while everybody else waits. This is Holy Week for over 1 billion Christians around the world leading up to Easter Sunday. Yesterday was Palm Sunday, and officials in Israel barred Catholic officials from privately praying at an historic Jerusalem church for the first time in centuries over security concerns. American Ambassador Mike Huckabee formally complained to the Israeli government as senior Catholic clergy were kept away from the city's famed Church of the Holy Sepulchre, where Jesus was crucified and buried. Cardinal Pier Battista Pizzaballa and several priests were on their way to the church for private prayer when they were halted by Israeli police. Huckabee said it makes sense to keep away crowds of worshipers at this time, but the church should have remained accessible to a small group of clergy. Israeli President Isaac Herzog apologized. The No Kings protests in D.C., Portland, Los Angeles, and Dallas became violent Saturday, and one near Mar-a-Lago, Florida, took a lewd turn as hundreds filled the streets around the nation in angry demonstrations against the Trump administration. In D.C., the protesters marched carrying Iranian flags. Demonstrators in Portland burned American flags and sported gas masks while attacking police officers. In L.A., they graffitied buildings. And in Dallas, police had to separate No Kings demonstrators from pro-America counter-demonstrators. In Palm Beach, outside Mar-a-Lago, female protesters lifted long red cassocks to expose their breasts as counter-demonstrators peppered them with insults. As has been the case in the past, the protests were organized by radical left-wing groups, and many of the protesters were paid, though they deny it. The liberal rag Politico yanked a controversial cartoon depicting a blood-soaked President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu with an oversized nose sitting among bags of cash. The cartoon shows the world leaders sitting on a rickety ship alongside a handful of top GOP officials wearing bloodstained Jewish prayer shawls and yarmulkes. The publication yanked the anti-Semitic cartoon on Saturday, only after a competing publication ran a story about it. And the National Transportation Safety Board has said that a critical system did not alert air traffic controllers during the tarmac collision at LaGuardia Airport. The airport's surface detection system allows air traffic controllers to track surface movement of aircraft and vehicles and alerts them to prevent runway conflicts. Meanwhile, the two pilots who were killed in the collision are being remembered by their respective colleges. 10 minutes past the hour, a swimmer rescued after getting stuck on the side of a very dangerous San Francisco cliff explained how she ended up dangling in midair from jagged rocks. Maxime Rancourt said that she decided to, quote, have a cold plunge in the dangerous waters of Ocean Beach when a violent tide pulled her 150 feet out to sea, and then some waves dashed her up against exposed rocks that were actually sticking out of the water. She gripped onto the rocks, and as the water then receded, Rancourt was left 30 feet above the rocky coast. A passerby saw her hanging there and dialed 911. San Francisco Fire Department responders dropped her a cable, and a firefighter rappelled down to her. Fortunately, Rancourt was not hurt. 11 minutes past. The skies above Western Australia recently transformed into a scene from a science fiction movie, leaving residents questioning if they were looking through a digital filter. On Friday, the horizon in Shark Bay turned a deep blood red hue. Powerful winds triggered by nearby tropical cyclone Narelle vacuumed up massive amounts of iron-rich dust from the Australian outback, suspending it in the atmosphere, and that created the eerie red daylight. Dangerous to breathe that stuff, too. Can you imagine looking out your window and seeing everything turning red? Looks like an Egyptian movie, perfect for Holy Week. Something out of the Old Testament, mayhaps. We're coming up on 13 minutes past the hour. When we return, PTSD affects millions of Americans, but many people may not even realize they're experiencing it. We're going to talk about it. Meteorologist Mike Favetta will return with your full forecast, and we'll take your calls at 888-658-0234. 888-658-0234. You're watching Mornings with Ken Rosato live on your Monday, and we are live both on the East Coast and the New Jersey, New York metropolitan area, and now on the West Coast in Los Angeles and San Diego, where it's much milder than it is in New York, but the New York, New Jersey area is catching up. We're coming back in 2 minutes. Please don't go away. Welcome back to Mornings with Ken Rosato for your Monday, live in New Jersey and New York. And now we welcome the folks in Los Angeles and San Diego. At 15 minutes past the hour, we will take your calls at 888-658-0234, 888-658-0234. Meteorologist Mike Favetta has the forecast near you.
This weather is brought to you by Audio Nova, your hearing experts, serving all of New Jersey with 13 locations.
All right, Mike. So things are looking a little warmer for the next few days in the Northeast, at least.
Much warmer. Took a peek at some of the highs for Wednesday. We could be pushing 85 degrees inland areas of New Jersey. That feels like spring, right? Oh, Pam, our director, is more of
Our
the
director is about to pass
winter
out.
style.
She doesn't like anything above 50. 50 degrees is her limit. She should be in Anchorage.
It was so refreshing over the weekend, so it's kind of weather for everyone. You get some cool days, some warm days, but there is some cooler weather ahead by this upcoming weekend, just in time for Easter. We'll talk about that in just a bit. The clear sky today starts off our afternoon. We'll see this very warm trend take over with above average temperatures over the next several days as a little bit of a cool down occurs to the north and west. But even through the middle of the week, it's all about the chances of rain that come in each and every day, specifically tomorrow night and then again by Wednesday, with a front kind of riding along New Jersey and most of the Midwest throughout the middle of the week. So feeling a little bit more like we should going into the end of the weekend. Now, we start off our forecast here with our temperatures starting off in the in the 50s, warming well into the 60s by the afternoon, and then tap into the 70s later on this week. Here's the cold air that comes in, delivering the round of chilly weather for this upcoming weekend, probably as soon as Friday into Saturday, making it feel more average as the beginning of April should, and we get a few chances of rain with that. The long-range futurecast shows those rain chances, specifically on Wednesday afternoon with a line of storms that comes in just after lunchtime and then takes over into the evening hours. By Thursday and Friday, we clear out, but it's much cooler and it stays chilly going into the first part of the weekend, and then Sunday has some clouds and maybe some sprinkles off to the west. Speaking of the West Coast looking nice and clear right now. We'll get more details on that part of the forecast coming up and see how your week is shaping up if you're waking up with us this morning in LA or San Diego and all of Southern California, Ken.
All right, sir. Appreciate you very much. It is now, what do we have? 42 degrees northern New Jersey, 45 degrees in Trenton. And on the West Coast, 58 in Los Angeles, 58 also in San Diego. In terms of traffic, we have a crash with property damage on the New Jersey Turnpike Interroadway southbound by the exit ramps at Interchange 8 and Route 33 East Windsor Township with a right lane blocked through there. We have parking-related issues at all the area airports. So if you're driving to catch a flight at any of the 3 New York airports, make sure you have a reserved parking space. This is essential because this is still spring break. I thought spring break was 2 weeks ago. It varies this time of year from college to college. About 25 years ago, colleges started staggering their spring break so there wouldn't be 100,000 students converging on Fort Lauderdale. So as a result, you have spring break, then off, then spring break, then off for about 4, 5, 6 different weeks. So this is one of those weeks where a lot of younger people are getting out of Dodge. Make sure you go online, reserve a parking space if you're driving to the airport. Otherwise, just Uber it, Lyft it, take a taxi, whatever. That's the other way to do it. Just prevent all those issues. In terms of the Hudson River crossings, take a look at the approach to 495, the Helix at the Lincoln Tunnel. Getting heavy right now. Look at the middle lanes. That's taking you into the Helix. That's about 1 mile right there from the mouth of the tunnel. So it's going to cost you about 30 minutes in via the Lincoln Tunnel. It's 25 minutes in via the Holland. GWB upper and lower levels right now. Not so bad. It's heavy, but moving. It's moving at about 5 to 10 miles an hour. So that's going to cost you. Oh, look at the extreme left. That's the lower level on the left there. I don't know why they're kind of bogged down, but it's going to cost you about 35 minutes in via the GWB. If we go to Los Angeles right now in Santa Fe Springs, there's a collision with unknown injuries on the 60 at Crossroads Parkway. In Antelope Valley, another collision right now on the 14 at West Palmdale Boulevard off-ramp. And we have a collision in South LA now on the 105 at Central Avenue off-ramp, and another collision. Remember, it's only 4:19 in the morning in LA. In South LA, another collision. And this is at, this is at the 105, at the 210 and the 118/210 connector. So right at that connector point where there's a sharp turn, that's where there's another collision, and that is in South LA. It is 20 minutes past the hour, and post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD, affects millions of Americans, but many people may not even realize they are experiencing it. From subtle behavioral changes to more intense emotional responses, the signs can often go unnoticed. Dr. Stephanie Johnson is a licensed clinical psychologist and trauma expert, and she's here to talk about it. Good morning, Dr. Johnson.
Good morning, Ken. Thank you for having me.
Nice to have you on. So first, for folks who may not have heard the term before, what is PTSD and how common is it in the U.S.?
PTSD, it's post-traumatic stress disorder. It affects about 5% of the general population. And basically, if you break it down, it is the inability to turn off your fight, flight, or freeze response.
So if we think about in terms of people who've, let's take the extremes, people who've been in the military, if they've seen combat, they've seen a bomb explode next to them, they may suffer from that for years, or somebody in a plane crash who survived, or a big car accident. Those are some extreme examples, right, of some impact that might live on in people's minds. But there are lesser examples as well, aren't there?
There are. So I get a lot of clients that come in that say, well, I never went to war, or I never had this happen or that happen, but car accidents, you name it. It doesn't have to be a major war event. It doesn't have to be a sexual trauma that most people would think PTSD. There are other incidents that can actually cause our central nervous system to get stuck into that fight, flight, or freeze.
How about like even the death of a loved one, someone close to you who just passes away? I know somebody who tells me that more often than not, when they go to sleep, they've awakened with bad dreams thinking of that moment. So would that be an example of PTSD?
It very well could be. It depends on how that loved one passed away. If it was traumatic for them, maybe like a hospital scenario where watching them go through that process can definitely be very traumatic.
So what are some of the early warning signs that somebody may have PTSD but may not recognize it and maybe should call somebody to talk to about it?
Well, one of the first signs is avoidance. And that happens gradually. People start to avoid people, places, things. They start to avoid thoughts and emotions about specific events. Then they tend to become hypervigilant. So they're looking for danger constantly in their environment. So let's go back to the losing a loved one, say in the hospital. Now they're going to be even more focused as, oh my gosh, now I have to go get myself checked out all the time. They're always maybe looking for signs or symptoms of something that they may have in common with their loved ones. Do I have cancer? Do I have this? Always getting checked. Then we have the negative thoughts and cognitions. So thinking that the world is a dangerous place, depression. And I think this tends to happen when people's central nervous systems have been stuck in that fight, flight, or freeze for so long that it just becomes exhausting. And so then our thought processes and all that just go right along with that. And it does. It starts to affect not only our relationships, but our internal state as well.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about when somebody actually gets triggered. What might that look like in the moment? Could it lead to a full-fledged panic attack? What usually happens at that moment?
It's case by case, and it's dependent upon the individual. So again, panic attacks are very common. I work a lot with first responders, and they're surprised that their central nervous system gets stuck into that fight, flight, or freeze. And so they will start to have more panic attacks, high blood pressure. Panic attacks are common. Let's see. A trigger could also just be somebody shutting down. So shutting down emotionally, isolating, withdrawing, not being able to emotionally handle situations. And so they just remove themselves from social environments.
I mean, I've seen my dad was a police officer, and he used to do something like that when he would come home if he had a very challenging situation, never wanted to talk about it. And I think they internalize, a lot of first responders internalize things and they don't want to discuss it. How does PTSD affect relationships then with friends, family, and coworkers?
It affects relationships greatly. And you nailed it. So some people internalize. So those people that internalize tend to have the health complications. So again, they're not releasing it or letting it out. They're not talking about it, unfortunately. And I think a lot of our first responders do need to come home. They need to talk about it with their wives, their spouses, whatever, to get it out. Because if you don't, internalizing the trauma causes high blood pressure. It causes inflammatory responses. So now you're having your body's storing all of that emotion. How are you going to get it out, right? Then we have those that externalize, right? So externalize, they're very vocal. So this could be arguments, not being able to resolve conflicts very well, using alcohol, substances, trying to actually cope, because alcohol and drugs are a coping skill. They're just a maladaptive coping skill. So we have the two different approaches, internalization and externalization. You nailed it. Exactly.
Yeah, we had tens of thousands of people come back from the Vietnam War drug addicted from what they saw, right? And they had the heroin, not heroin, excuse me, morphine that they had in their kits to help in the event of an emergency, and they all got addicted to it after witnessing some of the worst, disastrous, disgusting, horrible things. And they came back. We had tens of thousands of Americans, literally, who then ended up living in the streets, drug addicted and homeless because of that. Perfect example, doctor. And by the way, just want to digress for a second. Why is it the stigma still remains in our society that if you are having an emotional challenge, that just man up? What is the deal about people who still don't accept the reality that if you have the flu, you go to the doctor. If you have a broken arm, you go to the doctor. And if you're having an emotional challenge, you go to the doctor. Why do people still say, oh, just suck it up? Why don't they get it?
I do see a change in that. I think ever since COVID, which there were some positives with the pandemic where more people were breaking through that stigma of mental health and actually seeking mental health treatment. So we are starting to see that stigma slowly go away. What I would like to see personally is we have physical education classes in our schools. Well, where's our mental health education, right? So there should be a mental health class that's mandatory in junior high, 6th or 7th grade, where they teach emotional stability, conflict resolution techniques. We're talking all like how to recognize, how to critically think, how to actually improve our emotional intelligence. And then again in high school, 10th grade, 11th grade, it should be mandatory again, because those are the skills that our children need. And our world would be a much better place if we could learn how to actually emotionally regulate and know how to actually honestly, healthily talk about mental health.
No question. I'm with you 100%. What's a website, doctor, for more information?
Summitpsychological.net.
Summitpsychological.net. Licensed clinical psychologist and trauma expert, Dr. Stephanie Johnson, thank you so much for coming on and talking about this morning.
Thank you, Ken. I appreciate it.
You bet. It is 28 minutes past the hour. Phone lines are open. We'll take your calls. And meteorologist Mike Favetta comes back with a warmer forecast near you if you're in the Northeast. We're coming right back. Very good morning now. It's 30 minutes past the hour, Monday, March 30th, 2026. Welcome back to Mornings with Ken Rosato, live on the East Coast and the West Coast now. Meteorologist Mike Favetta with the forecast on your coast.
This weather is brought to you by Audio Nova, your hearing experts, serving all of New Jersey with 13 locations.
All right, Mike, this is take two. All right, Mike. Apparently, younger female viewers are obsessed with the TV miniseries Love Story, John F. Kennedy Jr. and Carolyn Bessette. And by the way, it is fictionalized, but nonetheless, if you're into the love story thing, it's kind of cool the way they doctored it up. It takes place in the 1990s, and now the internet is blowing up with celebs posting their pictures from the 1990s. So Mike and I dug in our bag of pics of the past, and we came up with these. That was a very chubby and overly made up Ken Rosato at CBS in Miami. And that is an adorable Mike Favetta at St. Virgil's School. Where was St. Virgil's?
Morris Plains, New Jersey, right there on the corner of
Speedwell, Plains.
202 and East Hanover Avenue. Yeah.
You're adorable. No wonder your parents loved you. My parents, they used to put a lamb chop around my neck so the dog would play with me. That's it. But that's adorable. Very nice. So if you know what, we would love it if, as a viewer, send in your 90s pictures, crazy pictures. You could tell 80s and 90s based on the dress and the hair and everything else.
Sure.
We would love to see. So send it in. In the meantime, I defer to you.
Right before the bowl cuts became popular. That was more like mid-90s. Yeah, those were very popular. But, the forecast today, it's very pleasing and will become very popular for the masses going through the next few days, except Pam, our director, really likes the cold weather, so have to wait till the weekend for that chill to return. But for the rest of us, lots of mild weather on the way across the East Coast, and the pollen counts are also a little bit higher, even in New Jersey, specifically for trees. You can see the buds on the trees starting to come out. That pollen will be working through the air over the next few days, even out west, as the weather remains nice and quiet after so much heat the last 2 weeks. Now tap into, a little bit of cloud cover by tomorrow, even with some showers that work through Southern California, as the end of March into early April, it's typically wet season. So to have that extreme heat that Southern California did over the last 2 weeks, that's rather unusual. But now, for the next time being, keep things a little bit milder and drier going into Thursday. So a little bit of wet weather to start the week, and then eventually drying things out by tomorrow afternoon. I am sure the tomorrow morning's traffic reports in Southern California will have accidents everywhere because of just a little bit of light rain. That's all it takes there to allow for some wet weather to kind of wreak havoc on the roads. The forecast for the rest of the country features the wet weather moving east, and rain chances certainly increasing by Wednesday after our high, which climbs into the mid-80s in New Jersey. Then we get a line of storms come through, and that will clear things out by the weekend. I think the full clearing, however, really doesn't take place until after Easter. Might have some extra clouds on Sunday morning. We'll tell you more about that, and if the Easter egg hunts will be dry, that's coming up in just a few minutes.
You just made me excited about my childhood when you just said the Easter egg hunts. It's so funny because I was a chubby kid. All my friends went for the Easter egg hunts because they wanted the eggs. They wanted like candy. I went for the Easter egg hunts to eat the Easter eggs. I couldn't. This just shows you like the mentality of somebody. I'm Italian. I'm like, I like to eat eggs. They're good. What are you talking about? What do you mean what is this candy stuff? Give me some pasta fagioli. But nonetheless, what did your family used to eat for Easter?
So the pizza ripiena, the pizza rustica, the stuffed meat pie, and then the ricotta pie, but also the grain pie, the pastiera, what's it called? La pastiera. I can't remember the name of it. Grano, that's right. It. Yes, thank you.
Grano.
It's been a while.
It's made from the little swollen wheats of, Pam says coconut cake. All right, so that's Pam's tradition. That's nice. We had the same tradition, and it's funny how depending on where in Italy your family comes from, they pronounce it pizza chiena, pizza gain, or they'll pronounce it pizza piena. So the word piena means full. So full pie, stuffed pie is what it means. And for those who don't realize, this is an Italian thing where we don't eat meat for much of part of Lent. In Italy, they don't eat meat for most of Lent years ago. And so on Easter, you put every meat into pizzagane, as they called it, right? With ricotta. It was a piece of that pie. You have one slice of that, you're good for the day. It is so full of fat
This
and
is
meat
true.
and right, you're just
That's right.
done. But it was
It's also
delicious.
your
And did you
cholesterol
like your?
allotment for the next 30 days.
It's true because I used to put salami, ham, I mean, whatever,
Right.
any kind of meat went into that to celebrate the resurrection. And of course, for dessert, you had to have a piece of that beautiful pastiera al grano, which is they put little bits of grain. It's
Mm-hmm.
wheat. It's wheat granules
Wheat
that are
germ. Yep.
boiled.
Yep.
Wheat germ, right? So it's boiled and
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like tapioca. It's delicious. Oh my God, that's so good. Just mildly sweet. Can't wait till Sunday. Mom's doing it right now.
Amazing.
88 and a half years old, still doing it. God bless her. All right, sir. I'm sorry. I've wasted too much time talking food. We will catch up with you in just a little bit, sir. I appreciate you. It is now 45 degrees in Trenton. It is 50 already in northern New Jersey. Let's take a look at some traffic if we can, please. Let's go to the Garden State Parkway first. There is a crash to report southbound, south of exit 144. You can see it on your screen right there. Pam's eagle eyes have found the camera. This is by Route 510 in Irvington. The right lane is blocked just past that overpass there. So that's causing a bit of a delay as the cars come on through during the morning rush, of course. At the area airports, if you are traveling by car to get a flight this morning, make sure you have a reserved parking space because long-term parking at all of the area airports are 95 to 100%. You may get to the airport, go to park your car, find out the lots are full, but there are satellite lots, but you should book them online. Just go online, pay a few bucks, book them. This way, when you get to the airport, you don't have to worry. You don't want to miss your flight over a parking space. That's silly. Otherwise, just take an Uber, Lyft, or taxi. That's your best bet this morning if you're headed in. For folks traveling on 440, we have a crash with injuries on 440 southbound north of Amboy Avenue, Perth Amboy. The left lane is closed there. Bayonne Bridge, we have a crash northbound in the vicinity of the New Jersey side in Bayonne. Right lane is blocked. And over on the Jersey Turnpike now, we have a crash with property damage. Inner roadway southbound exit ramps at Interchange 8, which is Route 33 East Windsor with the right lane blocked there. Over to the Hudson River crossings, Lincoln and Holland both reporting 30 minutes in right now. GWB, upper and lower levels, slow but moving. So we're now told we have 40 minutes going in, very, very slow right now, making your way in. It's usually at this hour, it's a little bit faster than that. But nonetheless, you deal with what you deal with. It is now 7:38 East Coast time, 4:38 West, and Apple is rolling out a major new age verification system for iPhone and iPad users in the UK. After installing the latest OS update, adults will be asked to prove that they are over 18 or risk having content restrictions enabled. Brand and digital strategist Fisher, who could be found on X and Threads with username @Fisher and through his website, fisher.media, here now to explain. Good morning to you, Fisher.
Good morning, Ken. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you, sir. Good to see you. And so why is this new verification happening? And what about our privacy rights? Is it going to come to the U.S.? And will Android users be next?
Well, let's start with why. The changes linked to rules added to the UK's Online Safety Act from 2025 to strengthen child safety protections. Though the act does not currently require age checks at the device or operating system level, and it did roll out. Now, again, don't freak out. It did roll out with iOS 26.4. These changes are exclusive to the UK, not the United States. And again, what it has to deal with is their policies, right? So we don't have those policies as of yet, but as we've discussed before, and it's been in the news, what happens in Europe is much different than what happens in America. But again, as the age verification rolls out for iPhone and iPad users through iOS 26.4, once you accept the update, you will see the message, UK law requires you to confirm you are an adult to change content restrictions. The check is required for adults to access certain services, such as 18 plus apps. Users can verify that they're over 18 by providing a credit card, scanning a driver's license, a national ID, or in some cases, just using existing account details, your Apple your Apple ID, because they have your payment methods on file already and how long you've had the account, et cetera, et cetera. If you don't verify your age or you're confirmed as underage, there'll be web content filters and other child safety measures turned on automatically. Of course, critics have raised concerns about privacy risks and the precedent of a foreign company demanding personal documents for millions of adult users. But again, this is imposed. haven't had my coffee yet. It's imposed by the government in Europe. So they put it at certain levels. I think this is Apple getting ahead of the problem, where they know that eventually it may come down to having it at device level, and it probably takes away some of the developmental and not in terms of brain power, but in terms of their developers having to integrate other apps into their ecosystem to allow them to verify against Apple's data. So I think it's just Apple getting ahead of the problems that will be imposed to them by these rules and how they ramp up in Europe.
Gotcha. What's funny is there's a drip, drip, drip of socialism because the European government is mildly socialist. They keep imposing big brother rules. And then because there are 350, 400 million, 420 million of them, it then comes to us because by virtue of what they're doing, kind of like the California laws that make their way for cars all over the country, those laws that are imposed in Europe end up coming this way.
Yeah, and they, how if you have an iPhone, you have an Android in the United States, it's secure. It's end-to-end encrypted with your messaging, with your Google Drive or your Apple Drive, iOS Drive. I forget what it's called now. iCloud. There we go. I have an iPhone. I know this. You know me. But yeah, we have that end-to-end encryption. But because of UK rules, the government has a backdoor into data from your phones in the United Kingdom. Here, and we've seen it in prior terrorist cases and other crimes, that the government cannot get into someone's phone from a warrant to Apple or to Google because they don't have that access to that information. It's strictly end-to-end encrypted on your device. But the United Kingdom and other countries are definitely breaking down those privacy laws.
All right, Pam, can we go long on this segment because of our other guests? All right, we're going to go along with you. Thank you, because we were going to hold off on this. Yeah, yes, she is. And then talk about Big Brother, starting with model year 2027. Every new passenger vehicle sold in the U.S. is going to be required to include federal surveillance technology. What the hell is that about?
Yeah, it's from the 2021 Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. Section 2420, or 24220, if you want to look it up, requires advanced impaired driving prevention technology. It's a mouthful in all new passenger vehicles. Infrared cameras, sensors, they create a constant biometric assessment of driver alertness and sobriety. They'll be mounted on steering columns or A-pillars. The technology will track eye movement, pupil dilation, or drowsiness patterns, and the systems operate passively without requiring a breathalyzer test, as of now, I guess. But the AI, if it determines impairment, your BAC, your blood alcohol concentration is over 0.08, or showing fatigue, if you're nodding off, it can prevent ignition startup or limit vehicle speed. The surveillance rollout targets sales of 2027s for all new passenger vehicles. And NHTSA's final rule faced delays from the 2024 deadline as government goes, but it is scheduled to roll out with 2027 vehicles. The technology is going to add $100 to $500 per vehicle that automakers, of course, will pass to consumers, and the feds promise that all of this surveillance will save us 9,000 to 10,000 lives annually.
They say they always predict with absolutely no way to back it up. They predict it. Here's the problem. Number one, just take note that this was passed under the Biden administration under a fully Democrat Congress. Just take note of that. Just point out a fact. Number two, here's the problem. You could have a medical issue. You could have a medical issue that has nothing to do with drugs or alcohol at that point. Now you could get that information sent to the government and you could get a DUI. And that goes on your record in every state in the country. If you get a DUI, it's on your license for life. Nobody can take it off. No matter what act of legislation, nobody can take it off. It's there forever. So you go to apply for a job and they find that you had a DUI and you have to explain, I didn't have a DUI, I was driving my car. But
it's also interesting
with Big Brotherism. Yeah,
it's also interesting, how will this work with sunglasses? Some people have facial features. I mean, whether it's a lazy eye or a droopy lid, or how do all of these minuscule changes or things affect the how it reads you, and what happens if it's just wrong? Like, you know,
Right.
I don't know how to say it. Like
Some people,
yeah.
excuse me, Fisher, you could come from having your pupils dilated. Now the pupil response is suddenly different. I mean, there
Yeah.
are things that do happen. You could have a medication for your migraine that affects your eyes, your pupils. So there are a million things. Now, for the 1/100th of 1% of the very irresponsible people who drink and drive, or more than that, by the way, there are way more people who are smoking pot and driving today. For that percentage of people who want to be irresponsible, the rest of society has to give up the privacy that we have for the government to impose
Yep.
this. I say that there's got to be a huge stink made right now with the current Congress and the current president to stop this. Because the fact is, we are now assuming everyone is guilty of driving under the influence until proven otherwise. And that is not what America's about.
Yeah, especially if it controls your car. So it's your freedom of being able to go somewhere, do something, and a computer can, and then who's controlling the computer? So,
Exactly. And yeah, oh, by the way, if they could hack into the federal government and they could hack into Social Security and they could hack it, you're telling me they can't hack into that?
Yep.
And you're running for office and all of a sudden they say that such and such had a DUI in 2026 and you didn't have a DUI. In fact, you were coming from having your pupils dilated. This is big. People think this doesn't impact them. What's the big deal? I never drink and drive. It's not about that. This is about creeping little by little into your privacy rights. And what is the point of the Constitution? You paid for that car. That is your property. Who the hell is the federal government to come in and tell you, I pay taxes to drive on those roads. I pay gas tax when I fill up my gas. I pay tax all the way. Now leave me alone. It's supposed to be a transaction rather. I give you money. You leave me the hell alone and let me do what I want to do. It's not that I give you money and now you are attached to me at the hip forever and ever. That is enough. I am done with this nonsense, government overreach. And this is the kind of crap when people aren't paying attention that Congress adds to a 5,000-page bill on the last page and it passes so that you can get your spending bill passed. And then 2 years later, we find out that this crap happens. I'm just done. I don't know about you. I'm done with it.
I agree. Although I did buy a Tesla, so sort of I've I opted into being surveilled.
That's okay.
But right, it's my choice. Absolutely.
That's your choice. If I don't want government imposing anything on me, then I won't buy that. You chose a Tesla, so you know what comes along with it. That's okay.
100%.
But the freedoms are not there. The option for freedom to opt out isn't there. What do I have to do? Buy a 1958 car and rebuild it myself? And I guarantee they're going to say that won't be road legal in states like California. And we're going to have to put in all these different pieces of equipment that can monitor my eyes.
Yeah, now I will quickly mention, because I'm sure we're running out of time, that cars nowadays are also becoming very subscription based as it is. So it's aside from the government having policy like this, to use your radio to, in my Tesla, I have to have the premium connectivity to have radio. Obviously there are other things with Teslas that are subscriber based, but BMWs have for you to connect your phone to their infotainment at one point, you had to pay a subscription fee. So everything is becoming a subscription fee and cars are basically not becoming yours anymore. It's just, you're just paying somebody, to use the steering wheel and the four wheels that come with it.
Yeah, and this was what people talked about when Tesla first came out, and it's brilliant, by the way. And I love the car. Had this conversation. Yeah, we've had this conversation. My mother-in-law has a Tesla. I recently was in Florida and had to drive her car because Chris had to go to a different event, and I had to go to do a public relations event. So I used Mom's car. So I got behind the wheel and I fell in love with it within 30 minutes. There's like a 30-minute learning curve if you're a geek like us. And after about 30 minutes of understanding, there is nothing in front of you. On the dashboard doesn't exist. It's a middle column giant screen.
It's an iPad and a steering wheel and two pedals. Yeah.
Right. And it sounds a little daunting at first, but it's not. It's actually a smooth, powerful ride.
And I've actually opted in for that full self-driving. So the car has been driving itself 95% of the time since I got it a week ago. And it's fantastic. And you sit there and you go, well, if everybody else drove like this, there would be no accidents because all the cars would know. And I mean, this car comes to a complete stop. It's no California rolls through the stop sign like I used to, I mean, is illegal. So yeah, I mean, it's very safe, and it sees things before you would ever. But again, I chose to buy it. There's privacy things of like a camera in the cabin while I'm driving to be part of it. But I love the car and the technology, and I chose to purchase it.
Right. And that's the beauty of America. You can choose that or choose not to.
Yep.
And driving it, I thought it was wonderful, but I literally watched everything I said in the vehicle when I would be on a phone on speakerphone, because even things like, I was wondering, can my mother-in-law hear me? Because I know that when I was setting
No,
up the car, she was talking like to me, and I'm thinking, can she hear? Can this be
she
recorded?
can't.
But I just thought
No.
about that. Also, when I was driving on the highway, and in
Hmm.
South Florida, the speed limit is 65 in some areas. If you do 65 in the right lane, you'll get killed. You got to start at
Yes.
like 90.
Mhm.
And so my thought is, does my mother-in-law want me driving her car 90 miles an hour? So there are
Fair.
things like that come to mind. She can tell how fast I'm
She
going.
can
Like
tell
she
that.
can
Yes,
look at her
correct.
app.
In the app, yes,
So I was
she can.
careful. I was careful. My mom-in-law, God bless Debbie, I love her to death. But yeah, but
Good
again,
cover.
that was choice. Yeah, that
Yes.
was choice. And she has the more basic model. Is it the Y? Which
Mhm.
was the more basic one?
The
Which
three
is
would be
fabulous.
yeah, the three is great. I got the Y, which is more of the SUV. Again, Tesla's great. I've been a Tesla fan for a long time. They've come a long way. There's no range anxiety, is what it's called, where you fear you're going to run
Mhm.
out of battery. And you and I have had this conversation that you would think that cars, gas powered cars, would have this where you want to go from A to B, and it should tell you. It knows how much gas is in your car. It knows where you're going. Just tell me where I need to get gas. And, that's the best part about a Tesla. If I wanted to drive from Atlanta to Nashville, it will tell me you have to stop this place, Manchester, Tennessee, and fill up near the Starbucks. And it'll take 5 minutes while you go get your coffee, and you'll be able to resume your trip. I mean, things like that seem so obvious once you see it in a Tesla, seems like something a gas powered car should have. And then I mean, we could do a whole segment on this, and maybe we will, depending on the time. No, but the buying process was easy. I bought it at 1 a.m. on an app. I was approved for everything, including my trade-in 30 minutes, and I picked up my car the next day. At 1:30, I was home by 2:15. I mean, it was, and that's including the trade-in. The process was amazing, and legacy automakers need to figure out how to make the process like that. I took my mom to get a new car on Saturday, and it took 2.5 hours. Great process. Subaru's awesome, but 2.5 hours sitting there going through all the work, where I did all the work for the Tesla on the phone before I even walked in. In fact, before you walk in, you have to complete everything so that you basically just get the keys and you're out.
Yeah, I mean, and that comes from the old school training. My dad was a sales manager at a Volvo Jaguar
Hmm.
dealership, and
That's right.
and part of the old school thing is, before you let the car go, and they used to call that "let the car go." They used to say that you kind of went through a walkthrough. You sat the
Hmm.
person in the car, you taught them this, and this button is this, and this button does that. Whereas, because each of their models were different, with
Yeah.
Tesla, it's all the same. You could get a high-end Tesla or the cheapest
Yep.
Tesla, and the screen is the same.
And also the
Kind of,
screen
kind of
the
brilliant.
manual is on the screen. So there's no big
Right.
stack that goes in your glove box. It's on the screen. So they basically say, take as long as you need to get yourself accustomed to the car, and you can leave whenever you want. Now, it's at Subaru, I mean, to your point, well, not to your point, but they didn't walk through the car. That was 2.5 hours of walking in and checking the trade-in and doing the paperwork and all that. She has a 2-hour appointment to come back to this week to learn about the car. So a lot of that, that personalization that your dad did for clients
Mhm.
back in the day isn't there, and it still takes 2.5 hours. So, that to me, that's something, I don't think I would ever go back to a regular car, a gas powered car, because I hate dealerships. A root canal was unavailable for me when I wanted to buy this car. So, it was either a root canal or buying a car and going into a dealership. So Tesla makes it so easy.
The one thing that, and by the way, we went long here because we had another guest interview that we were having
I didn't
technical
think you liked
problems
me
with.
that
So
much.
thank
So
you,
yeah, no,
Fisher.
I understood.
Fisher, thank you for staying long for us here, and thank you, Mike. Poor Mike, we missed Mike at the 45 mark. Mike will just do a nice, healthy weather at 8 o'clock for us. But the other thing too. with Tesla. And of course, I was fascinated by the way China treated their Chinese electric vehicles. So with Tesla, you know where to stop to get a recharge. And you know how you can map your trip from point A to point Z and find out where you'll need a recharge and how long it takes. China has a little twist on it with their electric vehicles. Their vehicles, they have battery packs that are removable. Now, not the whole pack, but about the equivalent of half the pack comes out in something the size of a suitcase. So if you are running out of electric charge, you could pull into one of their fueling stations, the equivalent of a fueling station. They've converted their gas stations, and they will pull out your suitcase of a battery and plug in a new one, and it gives you 50% power automatically right there.
Oh, wow.
So you just drive. It takes 10 seconds, in, out, boom. The problem is, you have to have, just like propane tanks, it becomes a universal ownership of the pack. Do you want to trust that to electronics, sensitive electronics? And if you're the Chinese government, you know you're putting in some kind of a sensor to read whatever. But it is a good take. It's something that maybe down the line we should consider for all the electric vehicles. Maybe have most of it be proprietary, but you could pull in and get a 20% boost at what are now gas stations, so that, you know, if you need to get that last bit and you don't have the time, they could just pull out a 20%er, and you know what I mean? Just something like that.
Yeah, I think as batteries improve, as that battery technology improves, I mean, even now you're only stopping for, say, 10, 15 minutes. So it's the time that you would get out of the car to go get something to eat, or get a cup of coffee in the car. So you're no longer sitting there for 30 minutes. A lot of people think, you know, you have to charge for 30 minutes and plug in your car. But nowadays it's just, 10 minutes here at this Starbucks. And then when you get to your destination, you know, you can charge or find a supercharger to make the round trip. They're also coming out with wireless chargers where the car will just drive over it and charge. So you don't even have to get out to plug it in. And again, as the battery technology gets better, the charging will get faster. It might take 2 minutes.
Love it. Brandon, digital strategist Fisher, thank you for going along with us. Who could be found on X and Threads with username @Fisher and through his website, fisher.media, joining us every week at this time. Thank you for coming on this one.
See ya.
You bet. 58 minutes past the hour. For those of you watching on LACA on the West Coast, stay tuned for your local news. If you're watching on New Jersey, we'll be back live with New Jersey news, opinion, traffic, and weather. Thanks for watching Mornings with Ken Rosato. Morning, it's 8 a.m., Monday, March 30th, 2026. Welcome to On New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato. We will take your calls at 888-658-0234. 888-658-0234. Partly sunny today. Little sun peeks through. Let's head to meteorologist Mike Favetta with a check of the warming up Garden State forecast.
This weather is brought to you by Audio Nova, your hearing experts, serving all of New Jersey with 13 locations.
And because Michael Favetta and Kenneth Rosato are on the cutting edge of all things internet, and because there is currently a trend for celebs like ourselves to show our pictures from the 1990s because of that love story, John F. Kennedy. There we go. So this is me. I was at WFOR Channel 4. You get that? WFOR Channel 4, Miami. I was there from 1998 to 2002. So this would have been 1998 that they took this picture of me. I looked like a wax figure with the spray painted on makeup. You could have carved your initials in my cheek, and they put lip gloss on me, and they put eyeliner on. I looked ridiculous. My mother said, "Who is this?" when I handed her the picture. I said, "Shut up, I like it." But let's show the cute guy. That you have not changed. You put a beard on that little face. There's Mike Favetta.
Oh my goodness.
You look full. So cute.
Well, I shaved right before that photo, so made sure I had to clean it.
Love it. So how old would you have been there, Mike?
I think that was third grade.
Oh, so was that 10, 9?
Yeah, 10.
That's a cute time.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great time. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so we'll show it again a little later in the program in case people miss it now. But there we go. Let me leave deferred. And I'm sorry we had to skip through the last hour because we had. See, why hear a certain?
He's upset now. He's upset that we missed weather. So.
My God.
Rocco's really the working dog. He's the show producer, keeps everyone running in line.
Yikes. All right, let me let you go and get Rocco. Go ahead.
No, he's good. It's taken care of. Now you hear the toe steps upstairs as the nails clink on the floor. We've got some great weather today. Rocco's going to be outside a lot today, and you should be outside a lot too because of this gorgeous weather that's rolling into New Jersey. 50s already and some 60s on the way by this afternoon, even crossing into the upper 40s there in northern New Jersey. Look at this, 22 degrees warmer than this time yesterday. Now, it was a very chilly morning yesterday, so we'll see those highs well above average as we're 24 degrees above average down across interior sections of the shore. And with the wind gusts today blowing up to about 25 miles per hour, it's that southwesterly wind direction that really keeps things going into this afternoon. Nice and pretty. Upper 60s, possibly touching 70. All the Audio Nova locations across New Jersey. The clinics looking great today with nice dry conditions. Just some extra clouds throughout this afternoon, and you sort of see that here on the Futurecast with that high thin cloud cover, but you also see the 70s there in northeastern New Jersey. There's even more sunshine tomorrow that'll get us to 80 by tomorrow afternoon. 80 in Newark, 80 in Camden, and 81 in Trenton. A lovely way to finish out the day. And while Wednesday is also warm, likely hitting the mid-80s again, possibly as warm as 85 there in Camden, a little taste of summer. There are some storms that roll through by the end of the day that will likely cool us down into the evening hours and kind of give us a reality check going into Thursday and Friday because clouds finish out the week and we're back to the 40s, much like we started. So a little bit of a cooler trend by the end of the week. So again, plan on lots of sunshine throughout tomorrow and for Wednesday. These storms, they don't arrive until later on in the day, so plenty of warm weather before then, especially around lunchtime, and then we drop about 20 degrees in the course of the day for Thursday. So much cooler weather by the end of the week. So a little bit of a midweek surge before we're right back to some cooler weather, Ken, toward Friday.
Very good, sir. Looking forward to that little surge, but it gives us a little taste of the fact that we are in spring, so it's nice to have a little spring taste, if you will. Actually, it's more like a little July taste in spring, but nonetheless, it gives us a little taste. All right, Mike, thank you very much, sir. Go feed Rocco, for God's sake. Poor dog is like, I haven't eaten in 6 months. Feed me.
6 hours.
See you in a little bit. Yes, 6 hours, 6 minutes. 47 degrees in Trenton right now, 49 degrees northern New Jersey. And in terms of traffic, we do have a lot of it. Let's take a look at 440 right now. This is in Perth Amboy. We have a crash with injuries, unfortunately, on Route 440 southbound north of Amboy Avenue in Perth Amboy. You can see the left lane of the 3 lanes closed. Police activity on the scene right now. There is a crash on the Bayonne Bridge northbound in the vicinity of the New Jersey side in Bayonne. All lanes are closed and detoured. So get away, stay away from the Bayonne Bridge. That's going to be an absolute mess. Take the Goethals if you need to, but don't do the Bayonne Bridge. We have a crash on the Atlantic City Expressway westbound east of exit 44 by Washington Township. Right lane is closed, so move over for the emergency vehicles. Remember, that's a law in New Jersey. In fact, it's a law just about everywhere in America. If you see an emergency vehicle or a breakdown in the breakdown lane or in the right lane, you're supposed to move over one lane and leave that extra lane as buffer. If you can't do that because traffic won't allow you, you are supposed to slow down 20 to 30 miles an hour and be careful as you pass them out of respect and safety. So try to do that, please. Let's go to the Garden State Parkway. We have a crash right now reported southbound. This is south of exit 144, Route 510, Irvington. The right lane is blocked. You can see the traffic really building through there right now. And we go to the Lincoln and Holland tunnels right now, reporting delays of about 35 minutes into Manhattan. GWB upper and lower levels, 8095 approach right now. We take a look. We could see slow, but they're still moving, and that's the good news. So it's about 35 to 40 in, the upper level on the right, lower level on the left. So that's where we are right now. Not so bad, but it is nonetheless what it is. And former New Jersey Assemblyman Albert Coutinho, who left office when he was caught embezzling funds from his family's charity, but continued to be a key player in the local Portuguese community, has died. He died in a car crash yesterday. He was 56. He collided with a second car on McCarter Highway in Newark. This happened about 7:30 in the morning. Coutinho survived the crash, but then died of a heart attack on the scene from all the stress of the crash. The Democrat was a beloved figure in the Garden State's Portuguese community, one of the Newark Portugal Day Festival's key organizers. He served just over 5 years in the New Jersey State Assembly, but withdrew his bid for re-election in 2013. Authorities had found that he bilked about $32,000 from the Bernardino Coutinho Foundation. The Coutinho family's charity has organized the city's Portugal Day Festival since it began in 1980, 46 years ago. At least 7 people in Fairview are looking for a new place to live after a fire destroyed their home there on Saturday, I should say. The flames burned through a multifamily structure on McKinley Street near 8th Street. Some say they heard one or more loud explosions before seeing thick smoke and huge flames. At least one person was hurt. Nobody was severely hurt, though, and the structure was badly damaged. Investigators are looking into the cause of that fire. The race for governor of New York is tightening, according to new internal polling released by Republican hopeful Bruce Blakeman. The poll shows Nassau County Executive Blakeman within single digits of incumbent Democrat Kathy Hochul. The Long Island politician still remains 9 points behind, 52 to 43%. But considering the fact that he is relatively unknown north of Westchester County in a blue state, that suggests a lot. As recently as last month, a Siena University poll had Blakeman 20 points behind. Now he's only 9 points behind. A trans illegal alien admitted to molesting a 14-year-old boy in the bathroom of a Manhattan bodega last year, but will not have to do any more time behind bars, thanks to a very liberal judge. Nicole Alexandra Contreras Suarez, a 31-year-old Colombian migrant who was born male, pleaded guilty to rape in Manhattan Supreme Court for sexually assaulting the teen in East Harlem last year and was promised a sentence of only 6 months, which has already been served. That means Suarez will go free at sentencing on April 27th unless federal immigration agents are there to cuff the person. Suarez was already wanted in Massachusetts on robbery, prostitution, and weapons charges, but was allowed to stay in the nearby liberal sanctuary state. Why? Who knows? He followed the teen into a bodega last year and raped the boy. The boy is now destroyed for life, and this person will go free. There's a reason why traditionally mayors elected in big cities have law or business backgrounds. It's because they're expected to manage huge budgets. In walks man-child mayor socialist Zoran Mamdani, who never ran a business nor even held a real job prior to being elected mayor, with control of a budget larger than the budgets of 47 states. Well, now it looks like New York City's poorly structured budget may force the major credit agencies to lower New York City's credit rating. That would cost New Yorkers more than $14 billion That's the price you pay for electing a socialist. A study by the city council shows the government's borrowing rate is going to rise from 6 to 6.25%, raising the interest fees by $3.6 billion over the lifespan of the city's various bonds alone, not to count the other investments they have. What's worse is when a downgrade is first imposed, it usually triggers future downgrades, sending future budgets into a sort of death spiral. Well, this financial mess began when Mamdani decided he would yank $2.6 billion from the city's savings in order to prop up his massive $127 billion spending plan, the largest in the city's history. By the way, it's a bigger spending plan for the city of New York than for the entire state of Florida, which has 3 times the population of the city of New York. Think about that. That's out of control spending. The Zohran Mamdani administration is playing fast and loose with its numbers, too, making it look like crimes against Jews in New York are dropping since he took office, when in reality they're soaring. Anti-Jewish incidents were up 182% in January, Mamdani's first month in office. There were 31 attacks on Jews compared to just 11 the year before. But in February, the NYPD was ordered to change the rules, and they started only counting anti-Jewish crimes after they're first investigated by the Hate Crimes Task Force, and they confirm hate crimes. So on paper, it looks like Mamdani solved the problem of anti-Semitism, when in reality, Jews in New York are now terrified to walk on the streets. The kind of numbers game isn't new to New York. In order to show lower crime statistics, Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg mandated that scores of misdemeanors and felonies would not be prosecuted by his office when he came in. Lo and behold, the following year, he proclaimed crime was down in a number of categories, all categories of offenses that his office would no longer prosecute. Duh, do the math. Of course, crime looks like it's down on paper if you don't arrest and prosecute people for it. Yet no member of mainstream media in New York, when I worked there, would dare to question the first African-American district attorney of Manhattan, even though he published his plan saying he was doing this, baking the numbers on his first day in office. And there's another serious illness we have to put on our radar screens. It's one of humanity's oldest and deadliest killers, and it's staging a comeback. Tuberculosis, also known as the White Plague, reclaimed its title as the world's deadliest infectious disease in 2023 after being briefly overtaken by COVID during the first 3 years of the pandemic. And the U.S. isn't immune. While our nation still has one of the lowest rates in the world, cases have been climbing steadily since 2021, exactly when the Biden administration opened our borders to anyone who wanted to walk in from anywhere on earth, no ID or medical records required. In fact, just recently, the man accused of murdering 18-year-old Loyola University student Sheridan Gorman, an illegal alien from Venezuela, couldn't go to court because he is being treated for tuberculosis. The highest concentrations of TB in politically blue cities and states, the same places where illegal immigrants congregate due to sanctuary policies. And Governor Kathy Hochul is crying for relief from the Democrats' own climate laws by asking to delay the very green policies that have destroyed the state's economy for years. Experts say if the woke policies continue to stay in place, New Yorkers would see already sky-high utility prices soar even higher. Hochul, who is up for re-election in November, there you go, wrote an op-ed on Friday putting it on the record that she will push to delay the implementation date for an environmental scheme that could cause gas prices to explode by 2030. So let me ask you, Kathy, if the environment is on the verge of dying so much that we have to impose environmental rules right now, why would you postpone your environmental plan for an extra 10 years? Oh, could it be because it would cost the average New Yorker $4,000 more a year and you might not win re-election? So what is it? Do we really have an environmental problem, or do you just want to get re-elected? Inquiring minds want to know. It is 8:14 right now. When we come back, there is something called preeclampsia. It is a serious and sometimes sudden pregnancy complication that can put both mothers and babies at risk. We'll talk about new legislation and technology that could help change that. We're coming right back. Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato, 8:16. We go to meteorologist Mike Favetta with a check of the Garden State forecast.
This weather is brought to you by Audio Nova, your hearing experts, serving all of New Jersey with 13 locations.
All right, Mike, for a couple of days, we're going to have a little warm up.
We are. And today, I think, starts off that little bit of a milder trend with temperatures already warming into the upper 60s today, climbing into the 70s by tomorrow. You have a little bit of a wind right now that's working across New Jersey that will keep us toasty thanks to the wind direction blowing from the south and west, allowing for a lovely feel. However, by the time we get to Wednesday, that wind blows from the south, making the coastal neighborhoods feel so much colder by at least 30 degrees. It'll feel much chillier as you head out the door by Wednesday afternoon down the shore, thanks to that wind direction. But until then, enjoy the milder weather. Plenty of dry skies around for today and tomorrow. The Futurecast sees that nice warming trend taking over for tomorrow. Our highs climb well into the 60s inland, even for tomorrow morning, starting off really mild. You'll feel like spring is here with those temperatures well above average. And then throughout tomorrow evening, look at that, 70s and low 80s. Beautiful weather ahead. Now, this is the part of the time of year that I absolutely love because it's hilarious that just a few miles inland, it'll be in the 80s. This is Tom's River, like back toward the Parkway. Okay, 84 degrees Wednesday afternoon. But you head down toward Seaside, you head over toward Ortley, places along the water, 33 degrees cooler by just less than 10 miles. Incredible to see. And there's no mountain influence here like there is out on the West Coast. It's just that much colder because the water temperature of the ocean is still in the 40s. So again, even later on Wednesday afternoon, at that temperature difference stays about 33 degrees in just that span of a few miles. So really interesting to note. People go, oh, it's going to be in the 80s. Let's go to the beach Wednesday. No. It's going to feel really chilly, especially with that breeze off of the water. Now into the weekend, just in time for Easter weekend, we have clouds around for Saturday. Saturday night could have some showers, but this is kind of what I'm concerned about for the Easter egg hunts. Unless you're having them early in the morning, where it should be dry and maybe just a damp grass, there is a line of showers that comes through by Saturday or Sunday afternoon rather. So plan on a little bit of wet weather, I think, by Sunday afternoon before that ultimately clears out by Monday. The forecast for the weekend again has those showers on tap by Sunday afternoon, so it will be a wet finish to the weekend, but overall relatively mild with temperatures rebounding again back into the 70s.
Very nice, sir. And we have 51 degrees right now, by the way, in northern New Jersey and 47 in Trenton. But I love the fact that Mike was talking about, no, don't go to the beach. Because when the winds blow off the ocean, it's like opening a refrigerator. Whatever the temperature of the ocean is, suddenly the beach gets close to. So if the ocean is still 48 degrees or 45 degrees, whatever, it's about that right now. Even though it's 80 degrees inland, that wind over the 45 degrees will make it feel probably 20 degrees colder than it will feel a mile inland. So I know that from Florida, we live right on the ocean in Florida. And I know that you could drive sometimes this time of year, you could drive a few miles inland. It'll feel 10, 15 degrees warmer than it does at the shore. So just don't shoot down to the shore just now. It is 8:20 right now. And in terms of traffic, all we have is an issue on, let's see. Oh, now we only have, let's see, do we still have 144 shot, Pam? We could show this. This is a little bit of an issue on the Garden State Parkway. Yeah, and even that's picking up. I think that's been cleared. So there was an earlier accident in the right lane on 144 on the Garden State Parkway. It looks like it's moving now, because they just pulled it off my list. So I think that must be clearing up. We have an issue at the area airports. If you're driving to any of the area airports, make sure you have a reserved parking space. This is still spring break. Spring break goes on for about 5 or 6 weeks. It's staggered throughout the tri-state. Different universities do it on different weeks. So we still have spring break going on. And as a result, if you are headed to an area airport, many of the parking lots are at capacity. So you'll need to reserve a parking space with the satellite lot. So just Google. I'm going to activate all my devices by saying that. Just Google parking in the Newark airport or LaGuardia or JFK or whichever airport you're flying out of. You'll find a satellite spot and reserve it before you get there so you don't get there and then miss your flight because you can't find a parking space. Let's look at the approaches to the Hudson River. Lincoln and Holland reporting 35 minutes in. GWB upper and lower levels right now. A little bit slow but moving. It's going to cost you 40. And that is our look at traffic. It is 8:21. Preeclampsia is a serious and sometimes sudden pregnancy complication that can put both mothers and their babies at risk. And in many cases, the warning signs aren't caught early enough. But there's new legislation and emerging technology that could help change that. Leah Butler is the Director of Sales, Marketing, and Business Development for Neopredix and brings both professional insight and a deeply personal experience with this condition. We say good morning to you, Leah.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. It's good to have you on. Tell us about preeclampsia. What is it and how common is it?
Yeah, so preeclampsia is a hypertensive disorder of pregnancy, meaning it's characterized by high blood pressure and some impact on your organs, so your kidneys and your liver, and it's a deadly condition. The only cure for preeclampsia is delivery, and while it can be monitored and managed when it's not a severe form of preeclampsia, it always progresses to severe after some time. And it puts the mother and child at severe risk for things like maternal mortality and morbidity, and then lifelong health consequences. It's incredibly common. We know that the numbers are rising, and we don't quite know why, but many women are experiencing preeclampsia and severe features. And we're not doing anything as healthcare. The healthcare system isn't doing much to combat those numbers, which is why in the United States, we have one of the highest maternal morbidity and mortality rates in all of the developed world.
That's fascinating. Could it have anything to do with age? Are women having babies older? Is there any link to that?
Yeah. Advanced maternal age is definitely one of the things that contribute or are a potential contributor to preeclampsia. I think there are many factors. It might be lifestyle factors. We know that preeclampsia has been on the rise even since 2020. So sometimes I suspect that maybe a more sedentary lifestyle is a cause, but I think it's multifactorial. And that's another reason why it's so hard to identify who is going to, go on to get preeclampsia, because there are just so many things that could really contribute.
And who knows what COVID and the COVID shot and everything else. I mean, there's a million and one thoughts. I'm not trying to link. I have no idea, obviously.
Yeah,
but
we just don't know.
We don't know. Yeah, we don't know
Yep.
at this point. Now, you had a personal story and your diagnosis for yourself quickly escalated. Talk about that if you don't mind sharing.
Yeah, so I had a very low risk pregnancy. Looking back now, there were some small indicators that preeclampsia could develop, but they were obviously not picked up on, by my healthcare provider. And when I started to show real signs of preeclampsia, like rising blood pressure, rapid weight gain, which indicated that there was a lot of swelling going on, and I was actually spilling protein in my urine, which means that there was some kidney involvement. My healthcare provider really just said, oh, all these things could be normal during pregnancy and we'll see you next week. But later that night, luckily I have a bit of a clinical background. So I was monitoring myself at home, checking my blood pressures and ensuring that I was, remaining safe in my pregnancy. And I noticed that things continued to decline. And so I went to the hospital and it was determined that I had severe preeclampsia. My daughter was delivered via emergency C-section early within an hour of arriving, and she had a bit of a NICU stay, and I have long-term health consequences because I had this missed diagnosis. And I saw my clinician early that morning, and had I been delivered or began to be treated earlier in the day, I wouldn't have progressed into the severe form that I had. And the scary part is if I went to bed and hadn't had that clinical background and knowledge, chances are, I could have had a stroke in my sleep and never woken up, and that would have been the end of my story. And that's why we're in the position that we're in. Yeah, it's really scary and traumatic.
Leah, is an emergency C-section always done when you are diagnosed right there and then? If they see your blood pressure going up right away, is that what's usually done?
No, not always. It's if there is organ involvement and, you're at high risk for essentially bad things happening, and you're not towards the end of your pregnancy where, say, an induction for vaginal birth would be safe, then yes, they would, of course, do a C-section. But sometimes there's a more mild form of preeclampsia as it begins to develop. And if they identify it early, sometimes they can do some things to support you and continue the pregnancy a bit longer, especially if there's a risk for the newborn to be delivered too early. So there's this waiting and watching period that can occur, but most of the time, by the time it's caught, it's a little bit late. And so usually delivery within the next, few hours is what needs to be done to make sure that everybody remains safe.
So now in New Jersey, there are several bills in committee about preeclampsia evaluation mandate, et cetera. What
Yeah.
does this mandate require?
Yeah, so there's three things, and they're actually very strategic. One of them is it's a bill that was introduced that would ensure that insurance companies must provide reimbursement for at-home blood pressure cuffs, because believe it or not, it's such an easy way of identifying if preeclampsia will be developing. But for some reason, insurance companies do not cover the cost of a home blood pressure monitoring device. And furthermore, they do not incentivize or provide reimbursement to providers to educate patients to review the results of even when women are monitoring at home, there's no incentive for the doctors to really pay close attention. And in a healthcare system that is overrun, we have maternal health deserts where OBGYN offices are closing just across, especially in New Jersey, across the state. 2 of mine in the past year have closed, actually. So there's this lack of monitoring and attention. And so this bill would mean that insurance companies have to reimburse for the cuff itself, education, and then the provider for the work that they do to monitor.
And we're down. I need to cut you only because we're down to like 10 seconds. I'm just going to quickly mention, you're also talking about a blue band, right? So in an emergency situation, a woman who's pregnant, that identifies the woman as having preeclampsia, correct?
Yes, exactly.
So that's a brilliant idea. So, and talk about Neopredics has new predictive technology too.
Yes, please check it out. It's called Pre-Free. It's a tool that can identify women who will develop severe features of preeclampsia. So if we can use predictive medicine, it really eliminates a lot of the guesswork that causes poor maternal outcomes. So we're really proud of that. It's already live in Europe and on the market. We're already using it on patients, and we're working on our FDA approval now, which we will secure by the end of the year and start using it on patients here in the United States and protecting women like myself and our family and friends from preeclampsia and the severe outcomes related to it.
Save our moms and our future generation, please. The website, neopredics.com, neopredics.com. We're talking about preeclampsia. If you're pregnant or know somebody who is, you need to know about it. Leah Butler, Director of Sales, Marketing, and Business Development for Neopredics. I'm glad you're healthy and with us. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you. It is 46 degrees at 8:29. When we come back, do you suffer from back pain? There's a way to become pain-free that many people don't know about. We'll explain when we come back. Very good morning. It is Monday, March 30th, 2026, 49 degrees now at 8:31. I'm Ken Rosato. Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings. Partly sunny, breezy, highs low 60s, and warming up for a few days. Meteorologist Mike Favetta with the detailed Garden State forecast.
This weather is brought to you by Audio Nova, your hearing experts, serving all of New Jersey with 13 locations.
So, Mike, I know that there are thousands upon thousands of women who are obsessed with you and who write into this show. He's thinking, my wife's going to kill me. What are you talking about? Who write into this show. All right. There are ones of women who are obsessed with you. Anyway, there is a resurgence of popularity from the 90s because of that miniseries that's on Hulu. It's a love story, John F. Kennedy Jr. and Carolyn Bessette, which is fictionalized, by the way, because you and I lived through that era. This is fictionalized, but it's a great story that they've created. But these are pictures of us. I could say that was me, but it wasn't. Yes. So you were at St. Virgil's School right there. That's a great picture of Mike Favetta. Look at this. So this is all the rage right now.
Yeah, the clip-on was very popular for the youngins back in the 90s.
Yeah, the youngins in Catholic
still popular
school.
Today.
I had mine. I went to St. Gabriel's, and mine was a maroon tie. Back when you said maroon, not burgundy, it was a maroon tie, and it had SGS embroidered into the middle. And So, and everybody, we used to. There we go. That was me wearing way too much makeup, and I had no choice. They put it on me at WFOR Miami CBS, my big CBS anchor job. And that's what you look like when they overdo the makeup. That's awful. What an awful picture. Thank God they don't do that anymore. And all the headshots were in black and white, even though we had color back then. I don't know why they still did them in black and white.
Yes.
I guess it was cheaper. Anyway. All right, Mike, I bow to you, sir. What is our forecast looking like? A little milder.
Well, the satellite picture is still in black and white, but it's a good one because it shows of just how clear that sky is across New Jersey, bringing back loads of sunshine today. And even with it, our highs climb well into the 60s away from the shore. When you get that influence with a breeze off of the water, it gets much chillier down across the shore points at the beaches. It's also a place where you can find some pollen across South Jersey, where it gets a little bit warm over the next few days. So back to the moderate level of tree pollen, whereas the other allergens take their time showing their face later on in the season. Today's high gets up into the 60s. The average high for the day is in the low 50s, but with all that clearing today, I think it'll be lovely, and that dry weather sticks around for the next few days. But there are chances of rain, especially by Wednesday, with some afternoon showers and storms. I know you look at this and go, oh, it's going to rain every single day. Not necessarily. Best chance for rain comes on Wednesday afternoon with a line of storms, and then after that, it's just kind of cloudy with a chance of a sprinkle until we head into the weekend. So overall this week, it looks, if you look at your phone and see that there's a rain every day, not really. It's primarily just going to be a small chance of rain off to our west with the stationary front nearby. So yes, the weather computers will see that and plop a rain icon on your phone every single time, but I plan more so on the beautiful sunshine that takes over and the hot weather by the time we get to Wednesday. There's the front that sweeps through Wednesday afternoon. That's what gives us our showers and storms. And then with the front nearby, there's a chance of a sprinkle throughout each day, more so heavy on the clouds into the end of the week with the cooler forecast. And you can clearly see what happens to our forecast going from the 80s on Wednesday, then we get the afternoon storms, and then much cooler by the end of the week. You still could hang on into the 70s by Friday. Saturday and Sunday sees another cool down on the way, especially into the weekend for Easter, with some rain that returns by Easter Sunday, most of that happening in the afternoon. So it's a much milder feel this week, just in time for April, but with April come those showers, specifically on Wednesday, and then again by Sunday. Those are the 2 days you want to keep the umbrellas nearby.
And April showers bring what? Aches and pains. Isn't that the rhyme? April showers brings, my back hurts. Allergies,
yes.
Headaches.
Hay fever.
What is this? Exactly. Mike, thank you so much, sir, as always. 46 degrees now, northern New Jersey, 47 degrees in Trenton. It's 47 degrees also in Cape May and 45 in Vineland. In terms of traffic, we don't have that much to report, actually. It's just the real Hudson River crossings. Look at the approach right now on the 495, which is the helix going into the Lincoln Tunnel. It's kind of slow, but it is moving. It's going to cost you 35 to 40 minutes making your way in. That's the 1 mile marker right there to go around the helix. So you can see the buildings of Manhattan there off to the right. But this is where you then curve around right at the top of the screen and you go on it's called a helix, because helix in Latin means snail shell. It means a shell. So that's why they call it the helix. But that's a 1 mile curve right after that point to make your way into the Lincoln Tunnel. The Holland Tunnel right now, a little better. It's going to cost you 25 to 30 minutes in. Then we go a little further north to the GWB. It's moving, but slowly, albeit about 5 to 10 miles an hour in on the lower level, which is on the left. Upper level's cleared up quite a bit on the right. You don't even see any vehicles there. That's kind of amazing. Actually, it's kind of astounding. So it's only going to cost you about 25 to 30 in at the GWB. It is 8:37 now, and back pain, joint issues, everyday aches can affect people of all ages, but knowing when to seek help and how to treat those conditions can make all the difference in staying active and pain-free. Dr. Dina Barsoum is a spine and sports medicine physiatrist at the Hospital for Special Surgery who specializes in helping patients to manage pain. We say good morning to Dr. Barsoum.
Good morning. How are you?
I wish I could say I had no pain, but I am arthritic. I have osteoarthritis, so I have pain all over my back. I've had neck fusion surgery there. So I'm sharing with you. I'm sorry to do that. Like, I have a pain, doctor. Could you help me? I'm just sharing with you because I'm one of those guys who really should be in your office. I used to work with somebody when I was at ABC who told me that she had suffered for years with pain and an off gait until she went to a physiatrist and everything changed. So talk about what a physiatrist is, because I guarantee a lot of people don't know.
Great. So you and probably everyone else in your age group or as we age will develop osteoarthritis. A physiatrist is somebody who treats muscle, bone, joint, nerve dysfunction to allow people to improve their function and remain active in a non-surgical way. Physiatrists can treat people with disabilities such as spinal cord injury, traumatic brain injury, children with disabilities such as cerebral palsy. So there's a lot of different subspecialties within physiatry. I'm a musculoskeletal, spine, and interventional pain physiatrist. So I focus on, musculoskeletal issues, back pain, neck pain, hips, knees, shoulders, head to toe almost, to try to figure out what's causing a person pain or limitation to their function, use different non-surgical tools to help them regain their function, resume the activities that they want to do, and then really improve their quality of life and prevention of injuries as we all age.
Gotcha. So an orthopedist treats the injury. A physiatrist tries to fix it so that you don't keep getting injured, right? So that if you have a gait that's off or you're having pain. So it's like saying, doc, it hurts when I do this. You would say, don't do this. I'm trying to make it light, but basically you find what's causing the problems, right?
Yeah, so an orthopedic surgeon treats muscle, bone, joint, nerve issues with surgery. And at the Hospital for Special Surgery, of course, we have lots of very excellent orthopedic surgeons. But the truth of the matter is that many of the musculoskeletal injuries that we develop, many of the patients that call HSS for an appointment don't actually need surgery. So seeing a non-surgical, muscle, bone, joint specialist can help you figure out, again, what's the diagnosis, what's the etiology of your pain or limitation to function, help figure out, if there are appropriate non-surgical treatments, and then sometimes surgery is necessary, and then refer you to the proper orthopedic surgeon. So very often a physiatrist can be the first line of evaluation and treatment, but often working in conjunction with a surgeon to get you the right care if surgery is what you need.
As my orthopedic surgeon had pointed out, he had asked me along the lines, are there days when you are not in pain? And I said, yes. That was 5 years ago. And then as I had days where, no, every single day the pain got worse, he said to me, when you get to the point where you keep waking up and saying, this sucks, that's when you need to come see me. Otherwise, but I'm kind of upset that I didn't get recommended to go to a physiatrist, because I think a lot of injury, to the body could be avoided by going to see someone like you who could tell people what they're doing. Sometimes it could be a gait problem, right? It could be a shoe problem. It could be all sorts of issues that could be throwing off the whole body. I used to wear bad sneakers that destroyed the way I was walking. And all I had to do was change the sneakers I was wearing and all the pain went away. Do you find that sometimes with patients?
Yeah, as the song goes, the hip bone is connected to the knee bone, so everything falls along a kinetic chain. And if there's an issue in one area, footwear, gait pattern, how your foot strikes the floor when you're walking, that can absolutely affect knee osteoarthritis, hip pain, back pain. If you have a little bit of scoliosis or impaired posture, that can affect your upper body, your shoulders, your head and neck, your lower body as well. So as a physiatrist, we try to look at the big picture and help people determine, again, what's the limitation currently and how do we prevent issues in the future? I tell all my patients, I would love to make everybody 100% pain free. That's not very possible some of the time, especially as we deal with aging and the degenerative changes that happen with aging. So if we can't get to 100% pain free, I tell my patients I want to achieve 3 goals. I want to decrease their pain enough that they can do all the things that they want to do without pain limiting them. We want to make sure that you can sleep without pain significantly inhibiting that. And then also making sure that you're not needing to take too much medicine to control the pain. So
Okay.
our
Well,
goal, as a physiatrist,
go
as a
ahead.
musculoskeletal doctor, is to keep people active.
Amen to that. I think people need to see if you have a chronic amount of pain, if you always feel your back hurting you when you get up, you shouldn't be waking up and getting out of bed in back pain. What's a website for more information, doctor?
So you can go to hss.edu and you'll find a wealth of information there about the different conditions that we can treat at HSS, the different specialties of doctors that we have here. But that's a great starting point to try to figure out, who do I see to feel better and remain active?
Hospital for Special Surgery, one of the greatest hospitals for treatment of joint pain and other things, but joint pain on the planet. And we're blessed to have it right here in the New York, New Jersey tri-state area. Dr. Dina Barsoum, spine and sports medicine physiatrist at the Hospital for Special Surgery. It was great to have you on. We have to have you back, please.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Have a great day.
Thank you, doctor. You too. It is now 47 degrees in northern New Jersey. When we come back, the media landscape is changing faster than ever, from newsroom layoffs and consolidation to the rise of AI-generated content and shifting social platforms. We'll talk to a communications expert about where things are headed. We're coming right back. Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato at 846. We'll take your calls at 888-658-0234. 888-658-0234. Partly sunny, breezy today. Highs low 60s. A little warm up for a couple of days. Right to meteorologist Mike Favetta with a full Garden State forecast.
This weather is brought to you by Audio Nova, your hearing experts, serving all of New Jersey with 13 locations.
All right, Mike, what are we looking at? A couple of maybe 80-degree days?
Oh, a couple of more than a couple. I think we could do 3 in a row once we get into this afternoon. Get really nice weather ahead. Today, baby steps, right? So we make it into the upper 60s, near 70 today. Now, this is in the shade. You step into the sun, it's going to feel really warm, even as that sun is shining down. There are some clouds working in across northern New Jersey right now, but they shouldn't last most of the day. And we stay nice and mild going into the next few afternoons. There are some wet days ahead and kind of a wet period taking over through at least the first week of April, but out west, that dry weather prevails at least through the next few weeks. So looking ahead, yeah, we have some wet days ahead and through the next few days, specifically Wednesday of this week. That's our best chance of seeing some wet weather, but milder weather takes over as above average temperatures likely through the first half of the month, and that also includes the places out west where they've been baking for at least the last month with all that warm weather. So as we head into Wednesday, we have the mild weather ahead for Wednesday afternoon, likely 80s, even some upper 60s on the way for Thursday. Cooler by Friday with the breeze off of the water. I think inland areas could reach the low 70s, and then a little bit of a cooling trend as we head into the first few days of Easter week with 50s on the way by next Monday. So kind of got the ups and downs here, especially with the warmer weather at the shore, more pronounced in terms of a flatter line. Probably won't see as much of these big temperature swings because, again, temperatures are so much cooler along the water, but I think Sunday for Easter might have some showers, especially by the afternoon. But something to keep an eye on heading into Easter weekend, Ken.
All right, Mike, have a wonderful day, sir. Go enjoy the
too.
warmer weather. Take Rocco outside for a little walk in the warmth. He's going to say, wait, yesterday was snowing on my nose and now it's like 100 degrees. What is this?
Here we are.
Why do I make Rocco sound like a 90-year-old man? What are you doing to me? What? All right. Go have a great day, Mike. Thank you very much, sir.
Too.
It is 48 degrees, thank you, in northern New Jersey, 47 degrees in Trenton right now. In terms of traffic, things have lightened up quite a bit. There is an incident right now as we go into the Helix on 495. Let's take a look at the buildup of traffic. This is simply volume. As people drive into the sun, they're facing east. This is what's happening. So this is in the Union City, Weehawken area. You could see the slowdown of traffic. That's going to cost you about 45 minutes into Manhattan via the Lincoln Tunnel, just the way it is this time of year and this time of day when you have the bright sun from the east. There is an accident down on the Atlantic City Expressway westbound east of exit 44 in Washington Township. Right lane is closed. They're asking you to move over for emergency vehicles. Holland Tunnel is going to cost you about 25 to 30 in. GWB upper and lower levels right now, not bad. The upper level on the right is moving very well. It's actually going to cost you 25 minutes in. The lower level on the left is about 30 minutes into Manhattan. It is 8:49 and the media landscape is changing faster than ever. There are newsroom layoffs everywhere. There's consolidation to the rise of AI-generated content and shifting social platforms. And for public relations agencies, adapting to this new environment is critical to staying relevant and effective. Ethan Anderson is the managing partner at PSC, and he's here to break down these trends and what they mean for the future of communications. Good morning, Ethan.
Good morning, Ken. Thanks for having me.
It's good to have you on. I spent, almost 40 years in New York television and radio. I have watched it. I was ABC News for 20 years. Walk into the newsroom and there were 200 people. You walk into WABC today, you'll see 20 people. You walk into ABC Network, which is now, they had to consolidate them down to one building. There's about 30 people. It is astounding what has happened to the industry as everybody shifts to that. So is that what's driving so many PR companies also to merge right now? Is it the same thing?
I think that's a lot of it, Ken. You raise a great point. There have been layoffs, consolidations, media companies that are emerging. And so you have fewer total journalists and fewer local outlets that are covering the same amount of news. There are not fewer things happening in the world today than there were 5 or 10 or 15 years ago. And so that sort of creates an impetus for public relations firms to not only build new relationships with journalists, but also explore other channels where they can then get their clients' news out the door. And that means, of course, social media and email marketing and their websites and videography and photography. And so we are now in a very complex ecosystem for how people consume news and gather information. We have people going to sources like ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude or other forms of AI, where they are actually trying to generate their own information without actually looking at an external, solid source. And so with that ecosystem, with that environment, you have agencies that are looking to deepen their expertise and yet also broaden it at the same time. And that's where those mergers and acquisitions are coming in so frequently.
Ethan, you look at YouTube today and there's so much AI generated content that it makes my head spin. I see a topic that looks so appealing, right? It's like, you can survive cancer. And then you click it just out of curiosity. Am I wrong, right? And there's always somebody's face like this, like that. And so out of curiosity, I mean, it really is. You click on it and then you can see a face that looks human. Then you watch the lips move and you realize it's all AI bullcrap. It's bullcrap. And you could just go down the rabbit hole and click 50 of these videos and it's all AI. So who's going to stand out among the AI? Do you have to, I guess that's what takes a talented publicist and a good PR agency, right? To get you through all that.
You raise an excellent point, Ken. So in today's day and age, there are no shortage of ways that you can generate content, whether that's video content, a social media caption, a speech, an op-ed, a press release. If you want to spend 5 minutes giving yourself an op-ed about why Ken Rosato is on New Jersey's news anchor for a weekday morning, someone can do that for you. ChatGPT will do that for you in 60 seconds. What really differentiates a great firm that specializes in this work, and really anyone that does so, is the ability to lend expertise and judgment and credibility. And so that means you not only have agencies that are focused on writing and on developing their own original voice, but also on lending their own judgment and expertise. The question for example, a company that wants to have a ribbon cutting event isn't just, ChatGPT giving me ideas for how to run a successful ribbon cutting event, but you probably want to work with someone who has done these before and can say, oh, this worked well, that didn't. That seems nice in theory, but here's why it doesn't work for this specific client. So that judgment, that credibility, that strategy has to come first and the tools follow.
Now, I see the networks and the group owners laying people off from broadcast TV and radio every day. Channel 11 just had a bloodbath. They just lost a dozen of their people who had been there for years. And it's all about money. It's not that these people did anything wrong. They're professionals. A lot of them, though, believe that they could just jump into the world of public relations. And there is a skill in public relations that is adjacent to, but not the same as journalism. Talk about that.
You're absolutely right. Ken, there are tons of PR professionals and communications professionals who are former journalists. And if you're coming into the industry as a former journalist, you already have a leg up because you understand the media environment, you can see how it's changed over time, and you know what's truly of value to a reporter, to a producer, and what's not. And our role is not to try to strong arm people into placing our clients in their coverage. Our role is to help take the things that our clients are doing and help package them and provide them to journalists in a way that delivers real value, and for us to serve as a resource to these journalists. So if you're coming into PR, into communications, as a journalist, you have a leg up. What I would say has changed over time is that we used to have some firms that specialize in social media, some that specialize in marketing and advertising, others that do website design, others that do true PR. We are now seeing these mergers because all of these different elements are interconnected. And so you can't do effective public relations if you don't also understand how social media works. And you can't really understand how social media works if you don't know how to structure a website and bring people back to. And so if you're coming into this industry, yes, of course, journalism experience is enormously valuable, but you also have to have sort of a base level of understanding of all the different points along the marketing and communications continuum. And that also reinforces the trend we're seeing in these mergers and acquisitions like ours.
Yeah, it's amazing. I know former journalists who went on TikTok, and on TikTok, all of a sudden, these people who were like local reporters in Name the Market 122, all of a sudden they have 1 million views. And you think, what? But you have to know the game. And clearly that's why an agency like yours exists. And you can navigate through that. As the agencies contract and consolidate, what does that mean for professionals like you? Because is it just that they all become more powerful in their very specific role as very specific targeting agencies?
So again, great question. I think a lot of it has to come back to a combination of breadth and depth in the work that one does in communication. So everyone on our team has some degree of experience with media relations. Everyone has some understanding of social media, and yet everyone also has their own areas of true expertise that they specialize in and that we lean on for support and guidance. And so in today's environment, any communications agency worth its salt has to have a broad team of expertise and a broad team of professionals who understand the full ecosystem and can partner together to support their clients wherever they happen to be on that continuum. So yes, the firms are becoming more powerful, but also somehow both more specialized and broad in their expertise, which is fascinating to see.
Yeah, I mean, years ago, just for people who are just tuning into this, you had a couple of newspapers, a couple of radio stations that everyone listened to, and a couple of TV stations that everybody watched. And if you were PR, you marketed, you said, hey, do a story on my client here. Today, you have 250,000 websites that people look at. And the idea of trying to reach everybody and get the message out is daunting. I bow to you because you're the professional. God bless you for it. What is a website, Ethan, if they want to contact you for more information?
Absolutely. You can reach us at princetonsc.com. That is princetonsc.com. We are PSC, a strategic communications firm based out of Trenton, New Jersey. And Ken, I appreciate the opportunity.
And I have a whole bunch of cousins in Trenton that I owe a visit to, so I should stop by. I'll come by and visit when I do. Ethan Anderson,
Anytime.
managing partner, absolutely, managing partner at PSC. Thank you for coming on this morning. All the best.
Thank you, Ken.
You bet. And that is on New Jersey Mornings for your Monday. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you again tomorrow morning.